I've talked about optimism bias when I talked about positivity bias, but I'm talking about it now in relation to its neurological nature. You knew the statistics, you had seen others fail at exactly the same thing. The evidence was right there in front of you, but something deep inside whispers to you, that won't happen to me. I'm different, my situation is special. And you believed it because your brain was designed to, even when believing it was the most dangerous thing you could do. It's called optimism bias. It's bias number 34 in our 225 plus bias series. My name is Cussons, Africa's premium high performance thinking and strategic execution expert. Optimism bias is the deeply embedded tendency to believe that we are significantly less likely to experience negative events. We are special and we are significantly more likely to experience positive outcomes. This is not based on objectivity. It is not based on evidence. It's not supported by facts and data. It is not simply thinking positively. It is systematically and consistently overestimating our personal immunity to the same risk, failures, and difficulties that affect other people in identical circumstances. And that's why when you come to Africa, a lot of people do a lot of, funny things, thinking it won't be my case. Think of the kidnappers, the thieves. Think of the rapists. Think of the people who, go do the wrong thing. Even our politicians. Now, the neuroscientist Tali Sharot, who has studied this bias extensively, found out that approximately 80% of the human population carries optimism bias to a measurable degree. It is not a character flaw in them. It is not naivety. It is neurological, built into the architecture of a brain that needs hope to function, to begin and to persist through difficulty. That is why in less developed countries, you see that religion thrive more because you need that anchor. But here's the critical distinction that separates healthy optimism from optimism bias. Healthy optimism says, I believe in my capacity to navigate whatever comes. Optimism bias says, whatever comes won't come for me. Healthy bias says, I believe in my capacity to navigate whatever comes. Optimism bias says, whatever comes won't come for me. By His grace, I am safe from this. It's not bad to pray. One of these prepares you to face reality, the healthy optimism. The other excuses you from preparing for it. And that difference between facing reality with confidence and avoiding reality with optimism is where businesses collapse, investments evaporate, where relationship meets preventable ends, and where life most times are lost. There are numerous examples in businesses and relationships. Every year across your city, your country, just look around. Across the world, you'll see thousands of entrepreneurs launching businesses, raising funds, capitals in industries with publicly known, well-documented failure rates. The restaurant industry, the retail sector, the fashion market, the entertainment space. And they will refuse to check what happened to the ones that closed. They say it's not for me, it will not happen to me, it's not my portion. The statistics are not hidden, they are not obscure, they are freely available to anyone who looks around. And yet, the vast majority of those, the entrepreneurs who launch these things, they don't have contingency plans. Yeah, they don't have contingency plans for adequate capital reserve. They don't have exit strategies. They don't have operational infrastructure. The statistics is telling them you will need it, but they say when we get to the bridge, we cross it. When asked, almost every one of them will tell you, I know the statistics, but I've done my research. I have a unique angle. My situation is different. That sentence, my situation is different, is optimism bias speaking with complete confidence in his own voice and naivety. And the market, which does not adjust its behavior for feelings, responds to businesses, not to believe. A business owner takes on a significant loan to fund an expansion, projecting revenue that assumes everything goes right simultaneously. It's not true. Even in economy, say ceteris paribus, all things being equal, all things can never be equal. You know it. Even a 5-year-old knows that. So there's no buffer for delayed client payments, no contingency for rising operational costs, no reserve for the inevitable expected expense. Even when you can pay your loan on time, what are your buffers? You don't have the money in the company. You have a place you can get the money and pay and then repay back. His accountant wants him. His mentor raises concern. The numbers, we are saying everything. When stress tested, the numbers tell a clear story. But optimism bias has already done its job. The numbers are conservative. We will exceed them. We always find a way out. 6 months into the expansion, 2 major clients, they paid late, operational cost spike because of war in the Gulf states, all kinds of thing. Energy costs went up. Yeah. There was grid collapse. You needed to run on generator. You see, an equipment failure happened. An unbudgeted emergency happened. So the cash flow crisis that accountants' stress tests predicted arrives with mathematical precision. He didn't fail because his business idea was wrong. He failed because optimism bias convinced him that the preparation, the statistics demanded was unnecessary for someone with his talent and determination. He overestimated his capacity. In relationship, the same. A couple enters marriage having watched several close friends navigate devastating divorces. They've seen it up close and in detail. The communication breakdown, the financial conflicts, the gradual emotional drift that precede most relationship failures. They know the statistics. They have witnessed the patterns. But what happened? They do not invest in premarital counseling. They never, had a retreat. When we have this, what should we do? They never read books together and say, okay, let's read this. They never had discussions. They did not have the hard conversations about financial philosophy, family expectation, conflict resolution styles, individual emotional needs before the wedding, childbirth issues, relations or, relatives. Yeah, they never discuss mother-in-law, father-in-law, brothers-in-law, sister. They never had the discussion. We are different. What we have is special. Those things happen to other people. Yeah, because, people who don't love each other the way we do. 3 years into the marriage, the communication breakdowns are right. The financial conflicts surface. The emotional drift begins. Quietly, incrementally, consistently, on daily basis. And we devastating familiarity, it arrives. They arrive. Their love was sufficient, but optimism bias had executed them, rather excused them from the preparation their love actually required. They excused themselves from the foundation they needed. They excused themselves from their own personal frailties. They were not in contact with reality. And when they had contact with reality, everything changed. So the most heartbreaking part of optimism bias in relationship is this. The people who needed the preparation most were often the ones most convinced they needed it least. They didn't know emotion was stuck in. So, like we said, the fix. 3 moves. Honest, immediately applicable, and potentially life-changing. Number 1, replace "it won't happen to me" with "how will I handle it if it does happen to me?" This is the single most powerful cognitive reframe available against optimism bias. You do not need to expect failure. You do not need to abandon your vision or your confidence. You simply need to add one additional question to every major decision. If the negative outcome that the statistics suggest is possible actually occurs, what will I do? What is my plan against it? Having a plan does not attract failure. Does not mean that you must use that plan. Not having a plan simply shows that when difficulty arrives, as if statistically you've not seen the people who were that optimistic and they still had issues. It happens, it's everywhere. So your answer is, or rather your question will be, what will I do if the negative arrives? Yeah? What will I do if this negative arrives? So, when you have that plan, you will face it with preparation. You face any adversity with preparation. When you don't have the plan, you face it without preparation, without resources, without options. Number 2, consult the base rate before every major commitment. Before launching a business, making a significant investment, entering a partnership, or making any high-stakes decision, including relationships, research the base rate. What percentage of businesses in this sector succeed past year 3? What is the typical return on investment timeline for this type of investment? What does the evidence say about outcomes in situations structurally similar to mine? Then ask, am I planning for the average outcome? Being physically challenged, I had this issue. I found out that a lot of physically challenged people, they are not rich. A lot of them don't marry who they want to. A lot of them have delayed marriage. A lot of them don't get jobs. A lot of them die early. So I had to ask, what if it happens to me? What if? And then I decided to work around it. I asked myself, am I planning for the average outcome or only for the best outcome? Optimism bias consistently causes people to plan for the best case while being surprised by the average case. Plan for the average case, and when the best case comes, you rejoice. Aspire to the best, prepare for the worst. Number 3, build a premortem. Build a premortem. You know what I mean? You know postmortem? Build a premortem into every major decision. A premortem is a powerful planning tool where, before launching any significant initiative, you imagine that it has already failed and work backwards to identify why. It's like an inversion thinking. Gather your team or your trusted inner circle and ask the question, it is 2 years from now and this has not worked. What went wrong? This is bypasses optimism bias by framing failure as a hypothetical reality rather than a distant possibility, making it psychologically safe to identify the risks your optimism was hiding. The pre-mortem doesn't kill your vision. It's amorphous. Don't do post-mortem when things have gone wrong. So I want to speak to you directly as someone who believes deeply in the power of vision, in the power of boldness, in the power of refusing to let statistics define your ceiling. Get it? Optimism is one of the most extraordinary gifts the human mind possesses. It is what makes an entrepreneur begin. It is what makes a lover commit. It is what makes a leader cast a vision large enough to terrify and inspire simultaneously. I am not here to take away your optimism. I'm here to make it stronger because sometimes it could be neurological. Because unchecked optimism bias is not bold optimism. It is optimism with its eyes closed, crossing the road at the same time. And optimism with its eyes closed is not courage. It is the most expensive form of avoidance available. The strongest entrepreneurs I've ever encountered were not the most blindly optimistic ones. They know their numbers, they know the reality. They were the ones who looked at the statistics directly, understood the risks completely, made peace with the full range of possible outcomes, and then chose to begin anyway and bring in every force they needed. This is not optimism bias, this is informed courage. And informed courage backed by contingency planning, honest preparation, and a pre-mortem that has already walked through the fire builds things that last. Yeah? You need to see the full picture, plan for the complete range, and then pursue your vision. Not with your eyes closed, crossing the road, but with them wider open than they have ever been. That is the optimism that builds empires. That's the healthy optimism. That is not optimism bias. So this bias number 35. Your vision is valid. Your preparation must match it. Share this with every entrepreneur, every investor, every leader who is ready to upgrade from blind optimism to informed courage. The question, when was the last time, yes, I mean last time, you felt the mind that makes the money? When? Very important. Ask yourself that question. Click the link in the comment section or the link below so that I and you can start this journey. See you tomorrow.